together. So Chad and I go way back to the weight room. This has been an amazing time for me right now. Just finished up the high school tennis season. We had a really successful season. And then right before that, I won last comic standing. And then right before that, my wife and I got to tell everyone that we're having a baby in November. So it's just been unbelievable. And it's been really cool. Everywhere I go, people are like, congratulations, Josh. And I'm always like, wow, I don't even know what they're congratulating me on because my life is so good right now. And what's really funny is that 9 times out of 10, they're congratulating me on my beard. So, sadly though, as Donna mentioned, you saw my little brother who has a much better beard than I do. And there's another really good beard in the audience tonight too, so good to see that. Tell you a little bit about myself. I like to think of myself a little bit, I have some Jason Bourne traits. I don't know if you guys know the Jason Bourne story at all, if you've watched any of that. Jason Bourne is he really notices what's going on around him. And I do too. I'm very observant. I really get the details of what's happening around me. The difference between us is that he has these kind of skills and abilities that he puts into play when he notices things. So for him, like there's the scene in the Bourne Identity where he's in the cafe and he's like, I'd have to kill that guy to get out that exit, and then I could run at this elevation for like 1.5 miles at full speed before I would pass out. And for me, I'm like, yeah, there's a bunch of people in here who could kill me, and I think I could run at full speed to that exit, and then I need to take a little break, get a drink. But I noticed a lot of things. So one of the things that I've been noticing is that people really have this sense, this need for community, and they need to connect with people. And they just are looking for somebody, they're looking for teammates, basically. And you can see this when you see people riding motorcycles. I don't know if you've seen 2 guys riding motorcycles down the street and they're riding and they pass each other and they give each other this little like sign down here. It's like either, sometimes it's a peace sign, sometimes it's just a little wave, but they're just cruising. And it's kind of like, hey man, I get you. Like, open road, you know, living the dream, I get you. And then another example you see is Jeep drivers. And they, got a few Jeep drivers in the audience, they do this Jeep driver wave to each other. And they're like, yeah man, road less traveled. I know what you're about. I saw an interesting one the other day. I was following a guy in a Porsche, and he passed another guy in a Porsche going the other way, and they looked at each other, and it was kind of this like, yeah, life's treated you pretty well too, hasn't it? I feel you, I'm there. So I've gotten to experience this a little bit. There's actually kind of a beard community that I didn't know about. And if you don't believe me, grow a beard and go into a coffee shop. You'll be blown away. I didn't know that there's like this secret beard community. And if you're a barista at the coffee shop, you go up and you're like, you walk up, he's got a beard. It's like, nice beard. You're like, oh, thank you. How much is a 16-ounce iced Americano? He's like, no charge. Oh, seriously? Well, okay, that's cool. So when you see someone else who has a beard, I've learned that the way you acknowledge them is it's a little head nod. But with kind of a smug look. It took me a while to realize that. At first I thought it was a wink, and that got super awkward. So I moved past that one, and now I've got the head nod. Just, I see what you're growing there. I see what you're doing. I can respect that. So I've gone away, you know, if I see someone with a beard, it's a head nod. If it's somebody else and I'm greeting them, I've gone full nuts. Pounded, bump. No handshakes. No handshakes for me anymore. And it's not because I'm a germaphobe. I have small hands. So my 11-year-old daughter, her hands have just gotten a little bit bigger than mine. And it all started, I have this good friend, and their parent, their father, has ginormous meat hook hands. And every time I see him, I'm like, I can't believe he's here. He's gonna say hi. Josh, what's up? Good to see you. He sets it up so early. He comes in so early, you have no choice. You're like, okay, here I go. You put it up there, and he just engulfs your hand. And it would be one thing if it was just like the squeeze and let you go, but he's gonna hold it for as much as the conversation as he can. And yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, great to see you too. Okay, I get it. Brutal. So my wife is pregnant, Emily. We're due in November. We're super excited, and there is a reason that women get pregnant and men don't. And I'm not going to get all sciencey on you with this, and that should be a hint right there that if somebody uses the word sciencey, that you don't want to even go in that direction with them. But the reason that women get pregnant and men should not is because women are tough and men are not. And I'm just going to admit it. Here's the example. Emily has thrown up over 200 times in her pregnancy so far. And she'll be like, we're headed out the door, and she'll go, hang on, I'm going to throw up. And then she's back, okay, let's go. So, not too long ago, I got pretty sick. I threw up several times in one night. At least 3. And I was in the bathroom, on the bathroom floor, arms wrapped around the toilet. And these were my real words, I'm not exaggerating. I said, God, it's been a good life. And I've gotten to experience a lot. And if you want to take me now, just take me. Because I can't go on like this. I've gotten to see so much already. Take care of my family when I'm gone. So, we're pregnant, and thankfully Emily is, and not me. And we are picking out names right now. And my daughter is 11. Her name is Taylor Salvation Cordell. Because I believe that your middle name is just a free pass. You can do whatever you want with the middle name. So I've convinced Emily almost 100% this is true. I'm still working on just a nudge, but I'm trying to take it a step further, and I'm trying to get that first name. At first I was like, you can have the first name, anything you want, give me the middle name. Give me free reign on the middle name, anything you want for the first name, but now I'm really pushing for that first name. And my top of the list first name for a boy is Optimus Prime. And I'm not lying. And I've been working on this for a long time, working with her on this. And I wanted to try it out the other day. And I saw an older couple, and I was like, they're not going to know. They're not going to know what this means. I'm going to give it a shot. Because they asked me, they said, you guys thought of kid names yet? And I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. I'm just going for it. I said, if it's a boy, I would really like to name him Optimus Prime. He said, I'm not familiar with that name. And I said, well, let me tell you a little bit. It's a character from recent fiction, my favorite character, a leader, very heroic, a real servant, the most sacrificial leader in fiction that I've ever read. And they were like, that's really impressive. The problem was Emily overheard this, and she said, he's a big truck that turns into a robot man. They were a little less impressed when they found that out. I'm a bit of a nerd, I can admit it. So we have a dog that I talk about a lot. We have this really cute 1-year-old German Shepherd named Shevlin. And right now, I'm just kind of living the dream. I take her for a walk every day. She's a really good looking dog. She gets a lot of attention. So I'm strutting it when I walk her right now, because I don't know how long I'm going to keep the beard, but right now it's like I've got the best of both worlds, where kids and women are like, that's a great looking dog, and I'm like, thank you. And then guys are like, nice beard, and I'm like, thank you. And, you know, I mean, I'm not in my peak physical prime or anything like that, but I've got this little window where the dog looks so good, the beard is pretty full before I have to shave it this summer, so I'm trying to ride it out. But when you name your dog, you've got to be careful, because people will ask you what your dog's name is, for one thing. Guaranteed they'll ask you what your dog's name is, but you've got to think about the dog's name in different settings, which we didn't do. So we named our dog Shevlin because we live near Shevlin Park, and it's one of our favorite places, and we thought that was a really cool name. And then we took her as a puppy to Shevlin Park. And we were going, Shevlin! 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 And people were like, yep. That's where you're at. You are, yeah, this whole area. Yep. So be mindful of that when you're picking your dog's name. Another example, I was in Hawaii and I saw a poster for a lost dog, and the dog's name was Killa, K-I-L-L-A, and it was this really good-looking pit bull with a spiked collar. And the first thing I thought was, I don't know if we're getting that dog back, because pit bull with a spiked collar named Killa. Here, Killa. Here, Killa. Come here, Killa. And you got to think about when you name your dog. I mean, it's one thing to have a dog named that and you're like, someone's in the backyard, check it out, Killa. You know, that's fun, that's cool. I can relate to that. But when you're like, who's a good Killa? You're a good Killa. You're a good Killa. That's a little weird. That's weird. You also have to think about when you're naming your dog, you have to think about the fact that your dog may misbehave and you may have to yell at it in front of people, okay? So you gotta think about that, because this is a name we were talking about for a dog eventually. Taylor really wants a little dog, and this is a name we're talking about. But can you imagine if you're in a park and your dog's jumping up on someone and you're like, hey, Mr. Muggles, get off! Mr. Muggles, you get over here! So I don't have the toughest sounding voice to begin with, but when I start yelling out Mr. Muggles, it's no good. It's no good at all. So I don't know about you guys, I really love sports. Just absolutely love sports. It's sad to hear that they're dropping wrestling from the Olympics, because I feel like the Olympics is about the purity of sports, and wrestling really has to be one of the 3 original sports. Because I can just imagine, beginning of time, 2 guys are like, I'm gonna take you down. And the other guy's like, no, you're not, I'm gonna take you down. And it's like, wrestling was born, okay? The second original sport, cross-country running. 2 guys are walking. I'll beat you to that right there. No, you won't. Let's go. I can just imagine Cain and Abel were like, I'm gonna race you home. First cross-country race right there. Third sport, and this one isn't an Olympic sport yet, but this has to be one of the original sports, dodgeball. I'm thinking pre-ball. Ball hasn't been invented yet, but guy picks up a rock. You better run. You better run. There could have been all kinds of rules. If you can get to there before I throw this, you're okay. If not, taking you out on the way. Okay? So I don't know how dodgeball is in the sport yet, in the Olympics. I coach the high school tennis team here. Super fun, I really enjoy it. Tennis is, one of the unique things about tennis is that at the high school level, you call your own score. And so you really get to see people's personalities. Because in a lot of sports, you watch a game and you never really hear anybody talking. It's loud, and maybe they're talking, you know, soccer game, maybe they're talking, but you never really hear their voice. Football, you hear the quarterback, blue, go to 2, you know, and you're like, I don't know if that's how he really sounds when he's talking to his girlfriend. But then, you know, one of the ones you get to hear people is baseball. You hear a little bit, hey, help yourself out, 2-7, come on, giddy up. You hear some of that. So in baseball, you hear a little bit of chatter, but you don't know. But tennis, you really, it's a quiet setting, and as much as the player wants to talk, you get to hear them. So the players who think they're really cool will speak very little, and they're just going to give you like a 15 love, occasionally. And they may not even call up the score. But then you got some free-flowing guys that it's kind of loose, and they're like 3-2, 30-15, slight breeze coming out of the northwest. Got some storm clouds. Looks like they're going to pass. Not worried about those. I'm going to go ahead and try to spin this serve into your backhand. Probably follow it into the net. My shoulder's a little sore from that last point, so we'll see how this goes. With those guys, and they exist, the problem is when they miss that first serve, and it starts all over with the second serve. It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. So we just had the state tennis tournament, which is really cool. You have to qualify as an individual. It's a pretty big deal when you make it. One of the really neat things about it is the school gives kids money to spend for their food for the weekend. And it's funny when you give high school kids money. So we're about to leave for the state tournament. I just cashed the check. I'm like, hey guys, everybody gets $60 in cash for this weekend. And you have the whole range of attitudes about money. You have the kid who's like, $60. I can easily survive a weekend on $5. I'm coming home with $55 and buying a video game. That's awesome. Then you have the kid who you give $60 and he walks into Jamba Juice and comes out and is like, spent all my money. I'm like, you spend all your money at Jamba Juice? And he's like, got every boost. I'm like, what? And he says, did you know Jamba Juice sells t-shirts? And that's true, Jamba Juice sells t-shirts. Why does Jamba Juice sell t-shirts? I mean, it's one thing when you get like Hard Rock Cafe New York. You're like, hey look, I was in New York this summer, Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt. What does your Jamba Juice t-shirt represent? You're like, I just had the most amazing strawberry surf rider, and I had to get a t-shirt to remember it by. It's incredible. So, been in Portland the last couple weekends, state tennis, and then we were there for a little trip, and we found this really great place. It's kind of a secret. I almost don't want to tell you guys because I don't want to ruin it. It's this quaint little Norwegian furniture store that people don't really know about. A little place called IKEA. And I don't know if you've been to IKEA before, but in Bend, sometimes you're like, just load everybody up, let's go to Costco. It's like you can't think of what to do. You're like, let's just take everyone to Costco. IKEA's like the next level of that, where you're like, okay, we got an open weekend, let's go to IKEA. You go in and you shop for a while, and they've got you like in a little maze, like like mice, and they've got you where you're supposed to go, and you show up, and then here's food in a bathroom, and you're like, finally. And then you go around again, and then you end, and there's food again when you end. That's how long they expect you to be there. Food in the middle and food at the end. Here's the amazing thing about the food at the end. There's this giant banner of a 30-foot hot dog. It's huge. It covers the whole wall. 50 cents. Then in the corner, not lying, this is true, in the corner in fine print it says, not actual size. I can only dream that they had to put that up, that it wasn't preemptive, that they put that up because some guy was like, where's my 30-foot hot dog? I paid 50 cents for this? Can you guys see how big this is? This doesn't look anything like that. So, being in Portland, you realize how spoiled you are for traffic in Bend. When I come to a traffic circle in Bend, if there's 3 cars in front of me waiting to get in the traffic circle, I open the door, I get out, I'm like, is there an accident? What's going on? 3rd car up, he opens his door, he gets out, he's like, it's just a family walking their bikes. I'm like, okay, what's their dog's name? So, when we were in Portland this last weekend, we were on that really cool street, I don't know if you guys have been there, it's got this super trendy coffee shop, and just tons of hipsters, just everywhere you look are hipsters. And there's all these bike racks, and there was this really cool little bookstore, little independent bookstore, and there's some restaurant with a line waiting out the door, but that was all a trick. That's every street in Portland. That's every single street in Portland. Oh my gosh, unreal. So many hipsters, it just blows your mind. So many people riding bikes. So I am stoked, I don't know about you guys, I'm stoked for summer in Bend, not in Portland, summer in Bend. Gotta love summer in Bend. Do you guys remember back in the day when we used to have celebrity sightings in Bend? So I run the youth tennis program at Juniper Park during the summer, and kids would show up. Orlando Bloom was in Drake Park, and people are freaking out. Zac Efron was downtown. Unbelievable, everyone's so excited about it. But times have changed, Bend has really grown, and now we have our own celebrities who live here, so it's not such a big deal. I think you guys all know who I'm talking about when I say the big celebrity in Bend. Of course, I'm talking about Little Caesar's Pizza Lady. So, probably the most famous person in Bend. I find myself once in a while, I'm like, this isn't the best day, and I feel like I could be doing better, trying harder maybe. I just need a little motivation. I'm going out of my way. I'm driving by Little Caesar's Pizza Lady. And I'm going to look at her, and I'm going to watch her dance for just a second, and I'm going to be like, that's living the dream. I got to get after it today. I love summer in Bend. I'm thinking about starting a new business. I think this would be super successful in Bend. It's a very Bend-specific business. I can't decide if it's going to be downtown or the old mill, and it's going to be a yoga Pilates studio with a little bike shop in there. And then we're going to have it's going to be a coffee shop with a brewery in the back. it's all going to be based on the idea of a tech startup, which we web hosted, of course. And I'm working on the app for it right now. It's going to be completely organic and everything will be local. And I'm still trying to figure out the nonprofit element. But I feel like once I get that all dialed in, you really can't fail with a business like that again. So I've mentioned to you guys before about, I always walk through Drake Park. Like almost every day I walk through Drake Park, and I've told you, some of you I've told you, my concerns about Drake Park and just how funky it's getting. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on in there, and but there's new stuff happening. So for a while now, there's been people tightroping between trees, and there's been the huge groups of people hula hooping, just all adults, no kids, just a huge group of adults hula hooping together. But recently I found a group and they had little trampolines. For real, little trampolines in Drake Park. I don't even know what they were doing because of course I couldn't wait long enough to see them actually bounce. They were still like making plans about what they were gonna do. But walking your dog in Drake Park isn't even enough anymore. Like people just kind of take it next level. Now there's a guy who walks his tortoise. It's true. And I made the mistake of calling it a turtle. So I don't know if you guys know this, turtles live in water and tortoises live on land. I learned the hard way. I'm not very sciencey. So this kind of rocked my world though, because I was like, wait a second, Teenage Mutant Ninja tortoises? That is not as cool at all. So I've talked before about the very awesome activity that happens in Drake Park that you stumble on once in a while about the LARPers, and they're the live action role play, and they've got the foam swords and they're battling it out. I've been talking about it for a while. I still don't exactly get it. I know it has something to do with crowning like a nerd king or a nerd queen. And but as I've said before, every guy who sees that, every time we see it, we just are like, oh, they're such nerds. Nerd, 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 nerd. But really, every single one of us goes, oh, I just want to play so bad. Oh my gosh, that looks like so much fun. So I'm coming up with a plan. I see we have a lot of people here, and I think we could get organized. And I would love to find out sometime when they're playing and get really organized and start out on the other side of the footbridge. And we're ready to go, we're decked out. Guy in the front has a fake horse he's riding. Somebody's got a horn. And from the other side of the footbridge, they hear the horn. They see the horse coming across, and then this would be the tipping point. This would be unbelievable. 1,000 foam arrows come over the water, raining down on them. They don't know what hit them. It just got real. It just got very real. But we still play by their rules. And we set it up a little bit like a movie where our first line that goes in is just pure victims. Our first guys that run in, we don't run in with any technique or anything. We just come in, and get killed. So they go from their battle, they're like, what? And we're coming in and I guess. And they take out the first guy and he falls and they're like, okay, here we go. And it turns into a battle, but we have them totally outnumbered. And when we finally beat them, we claim the footbridge as our own. Well, I have to say thank you so much, you guys, for coming out tonight. This is amazing. I didn't know what to expect, and I just am so thankful that you guys would come out. I got to tell you the backstory real fast on doing this. So I coached the high school tennis team, and they encouraged me to do Last Comic Standing, and I kind of tried out my material on them a little bit, and they all wanted to go, but it was a 21 and over event, so they couldn't go, and they all said, so the event hasn't started yet, and they're like, oh, no worries, we'll just sneak in. And I was like, yeah, that would probably mean I get fired, so we probably shouldn't do that. So I told everyone, okay, if I win the competition, then I'll put on an all-ages show, and so fortunately that was able to happen, and everybody came out tonight. being here, and thank you so much, and a big thanks to Chad and also to Donna, and I'm going to pass it off here to Donna. So thank you guys, I really appreciate it.